I'm from the Airmen and Family Readiness Center here on Little Rock Air Force Base, and today we'll be talking about private sector resume writing. Any jobs that are not in the federal service this will pertain to. First off, let's talk about what a resume is. That would be helpful information, right? A resume is and should be used as your marketing tool. It's a little commercial, a little insight into how your career has progressed. Your resume should highlight relevant being the key word, job experience, education, activities, and honors. A resume will list your applicable computer skills, language skills, any skills that you have that pertain to that particular job posting, you would list on your resume. A resume will describe what you can do for the employer. You're not going to talk about what the employer is going to do for you. You want to talk about what you have to offer that employer. A resume will get you through the initial screening and onto an interview. A resume is not going to get you the job by itself. It's the resume or the interview that will set you apart from any of the other candidates. A resume should also serve as a guide for your references. Your references are going to be those people who are close to you, who you've worked with, or who you've known for an extended period of time, who will be able to attest to your abilities and skills. One thing about a resume is that it's an art, not a science. So there's really no hard facts that I can give you, no guaranteed ways to get a particular job. I can just show you best practices here. A resume is a focused, individualized document. With going back to that, there's no one way. It is individualized. You should write your resume and edit it for each job posting you apply for. And for just ease of writing, don't use a template. It is just very difficult to fight with formatting, and you can use that energy to wordsmith your document a little bit more rather than fighting with formatting already in the system. Tips to get started. You really want to research that company and that position that's available, that's being announced. One thing you should do always is go to that employer's website. You may find an announcement on websites such as Indeed or Monster or even Facebook or LinkedIn, but make sure that you're going to the source. Go to that company's website, make sure it is a legitimate job announcement. Other avenues, other websites may have outdated information. So for the best up-to-date information, the best contact information, you'll want to go to that company's website to check out. Feel free to reach out to the employer. Ask questions. Writing a resume takes a lot of work. So if it's not a job that you necessarily want to do or a company that you necessarily want to work for, I hate to say it, but don't spend your time writing a resume for a position that you're not comfortable with. Read through the job posting a few times. This will help you highlight those keywords. Get those keywords in your head. The verbiage that the company is using, the phrasing of certain skills, the knowledge, skills, and abilities, and responsibilities of those jobs should be in that job announcement. So reading through that announcement a few times before you sit down and start to write your resume will really help guide your conversation. Also, understand and clarify your own skills and abilities and accomplishments, right? So go back and look through any performance reports you've had, any job announcements, any job descriptions of the jobs that you've worked for in the past. Go back and read through those. Get to know your own skills and accomplishments, and that will make writing the resume easier. Try to stay focused and concise. If you're applying for a job that you find online, there could be dozens to even hundreds of potential candidates that someone in human resources is going to have to screen through. You are going to want to stay focused and concise in your resume as to get the attention of that human resource person reading through and getting you to the next level in the job, in the candidate search. Make it easy to read. Your document, more likely than not, you'll be submitting your document, your resume, electronically. What you want to make sure of is you can mess with the margins, top, bottom, and sides, to spread out, to make your page more full. You'll want to make sure that you have adequate white space. Adequate white space is just the spacing that is white on your document, on your resume. So you want to make sure that it's even and free-flowing throughout the document. You want to make sure your spacing is correct and that it's easy on the eyes, so to speak. There are three main types of resumes: chronological, functional, and combination. Chronological resume is just that. It's going to put your experience on a timeline. You always start with the most recent at the top. These resumes, the chronological resume, emphasizes your career growth or progression. So you'll have the most important job titles, the job with the most accomplishments, right up there at top. The chronological resume also shows increased responsibilities, because more times than not, you will list your job title and the company that you've worked for. So with your job title, you can show those increased responsibilities. It shows your loyalty to the company too, because then your potential employer will see how long you have been at each job that you have worked for. The chronological resume, one downfall is that it may not work with career changers, with changing careers. If you have a job title unrelated to a job that you are applying for, it might throw a human resource person off and seem irrelevant, like that experience underneath that unrelated job title is irrelevant to what the job is that you're looking for. It will also highlight spotty work history, because we're putting it on a timeline. We're really going to be able to see gaps in employment with a chronological resume. Here's an example of a chronological resume. You can see you have a summary of qualifications and then your work experience with the dates here for each. You have your the title, your duty title or your job position listed, and then the accomplishments under each job title. But most importantly, what sets the chronological resume apart is this timeline, or the dates included. A functional resume will emphasize relevant skills. So rather than highlighting your skills underneath a particular job title, you will have your relevant skills rather than each of those job titles. This allows you to incorporate a wide variety of experience. So rather than job titles, you have your skills highlighted. This, with a functional resume, it actually will hide gaps in employment because we're not going to put it on a timeline. However, it does de-emphasize your career growth because there are no job titles, there are no dates. We're unable to see how long you've held that experience for of those particular skills and how long you've been at a company. The functional resume is best for those with non-work experience, so volunteer, non-paid experience, volunteer, school, recent graduates, and frequent job changers. Here's a example of a functional resume. As you'll see, there's no dates. It lists or mentions how long they've had that experience for, but it's nothing put on a timeline. The combination resume is a functional resume with a work history included. So this highlights the skills that you're most proud of, that you're most match the job announcement, and includes a work history. It highlights relevant skills and accomplishments. It combines your skills and experience with a timeline. So not only is your potential employer able to see what skills you've acquired and the accomplishments that go with each, but it's also able to see your work history, what companies you've worked for, and whether or not you've had a long go at a particular position. The combination resume is best for career changers, those who have been in a job or in a lengthy career, and those who have gained experience in non-traditional ways. This is also great for those transitioning out of the military through either separation or retirement, because you're able to get those transferable skills, highlight those transferable skills, and take a little bit of that military jargon out. Here is an example of the combination resume. You'll see the skills are listed with the accomplishments right next to it, and then the job history underneath. No matter what type of resume you decide to compose, each resume should have these basic sections to it. You're going to go with a name block. So right up at top, you're going to put your name and contact information. Then your objective, summary or professional summary, your education, training, or experience and accomplishments, and your skills. There's no particular order to the education, training, or experience and accomplishments area. You may decide to put the education above your experience if your education is being used as the key qualifier for a position. So for instance, someone is getting out of the military, they've been an aircraft mechanic for their entire career. They're going to go to school to become a teacher. Well, a lot of what they've done, the technical skills that they've gained in the military aren't going to be very applicable to a classroom. So you can list your experience underneath your education, that degree in education, and use that as your key qualifier, but still include some of that military experience. Optionally, you can add honors and achievements, professional memberships, voluntary affiliations, and interests and hobbies. I caution this area because this can get a little personal, and also you may want to make sure that whatever you do include is relevant to the position. All right, your name block. Right up at top, centered, right up at top, is going to be your name and contact information. It can be as minimal as your first and last name, a phone number, and email address. It can include your physical address if you so choose to, but a lot of people are getting away from adding their physical address anymore. Be sure to remove the hyperlink from your email. If an employer is getting this electronically, you don't want them clicking on anything and inadvertently having a pop-up screen and taking them away from your resume. You don't want to give them any reason to get angry with your resume. Your email address should be civilian, so don't include a work email. And make sure it's work appropriate. Make sure it's something that you have, an email that you've developed since you've been out of high school. Here are some examples of name blocks. You'll see there's 2 lines on the first 2 with all the contact information across, and then you have the stacking block at the bottom. As I mentioned at the beginning, you want to make sure that you're using adequate white space with the spacing. Everything is kind of even and equal. This stacking may be necessary if you need to fill a whole page. If you need a few more lines to make sure your top margin and your bottom margins are equal, then you may need to go to the stacking. But then again, you may need to go to the 2-line name block. So the objective would be what you would put right underneath your name block. What's your objective? What's the point of writing this resume? Keep it brief and to the point. Let the HR person know what position you're applying for. Where does this resume belong? Use the exact phrasing in the job announcement, and keep it simple. to obtain a position as human resources at ABC company, or seeking a position as a middle school social studies teacher with the Jacksonville North Pulaski School District. Simple and to the point. No need to get creative here. Save your wordsmithing for your summary of qualifications and your accomplishment statements. Summary of qualifications is also another optional area, but it is important. This is where you could set yourself apart from the competition. It is used to highlight how you meet the job requirements. So you want to, once again, get those keywords, those phrases out of the job posting, any philosophy possibly that the company has that you know because you've done your research on the company, any philosophy, any keywords, any ideals that they promote, you may want to plug in here in your summary of qualifications. Be specific and tailor it to that job announcement. However, keep it brief and to the point. You don't want any more than 5 sentences, a small paragraph, 45 words or less. And you may, if you decide to, bullet point specific skills that go right along with that job announcement underneath your small paragraph. Here are some examples. Attentive and adaptable middle grade social studies teacher skilled in using consistency, empathy, and other emotional intelligence skills to effectively manage classroom behavior. Leverage student feedback to create dynamic lesson plans that address students' diverse strengths, weaknesses, and learning styles. And then right underneath that paragraph, you would add key skills that you have that match that job description. The second one, a decorated police officer transitioning from the U.S. Air Force Security Forces to civilian law enforcement. Highly motivated to leverage